It's the Small Business Rally Point. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach, and today we're talking about public speaking, podcasting, and how to find your voice, overcome stage fright, and develop your message. And we've got an expert to do it. The mayor of Podcast Town, Elzie Flenard, is our guest today. Thank you to our partners, Serendipity Labs, and the super awesome, groovy, amazing, incredible, fun, brilliant, inspiring, I can't think of any more adjectives, Idea Collective for small business owners. You know who you are. Thank you for coming in today to watch us. And if you want to join this incredibly cool group, we are accepting new members through Friday. So the door closes again on Friday, and it may not reopen until 2021. We'll talk more about that later on in the show. This show is being broadcast on Facebook and on the Idea Coach YouTube channel. You can make sure to subscribe to Pat Miller Idea Coach on YouTube, and you won't miss any of these shows, night schools, or other groovy things that we do on YouTube. Big shout out to Jennifer Buchholz and her cat tech support who are producing the call today. She's the ultimate connector and my business BFF. All right, so the mayor is our guest today, and it's week 2 of the coordinated carryout program. Last week, we did a coordinated carryout through the Brand Crafted Social Club and the Idea Collective to the Peanut Butter and Jelly Deli. We'll share some results on how that went, and we will announce that tomorrow is Taco Tuesday. We'll tell you more about that in a bit. Plus, on our roundtable discussion today, we're going to ask a very important question. So I want to get your brain thinking about the question. So get ready to answer this question. What do you love most about the first place Chicago Bears? I'm kidding. No, I just had to say that. Do you know how long? As soon as the game ended yesterday, I thought, oh, I'm going to be so obnoxious. This is going to be great. Come on. I had to do it.
I can mute you.
Thank you. No, you can't. Okay, you probably could. You have the power. Okay, no, here's the real question. Besides, what do you love most about the first place Chicago Bears? Which I had to say again, because I can't believe it. Okay, here's the question. You know that meme that's going around, how it started and how it's going? I want you to think back when you started your company and you started your small business. And I want to hear from you, what was it like when you first started? Maybe you were selling something different. Maybe you had a partner. Maybe it was a business that you started that failed, how it started and how it's going now. Because I think it would be interesting to hear about people that have added team members or added locations, or they've grown their revenue, where they're in a different business completely. It'll be a good conversation. So if you don't want to talk Bears, that's fine. We can talk about how it started and how it's going. But let's get to the show. Welcome on to the Small Business Rally Point, the mayor of Podcast Town, Elzie Flenard. Elzie, it's great to finally get you on Rally Point. How are you today?
I am fantastic. Thank you for having me on. I'm super nervous, believe it or not.
Super nervous? You can't be nervous. Why? Because we're doing video, not just audio? Is that what it is?
You would think that, like, I'm literally always in front of people, behind the microphone, on video, on audio, and I get nervous every single time.
Well, that's one of the things that we want to ask about today is how do you perform even when you feel that way? And we have a few questions we're going to ask along those lines, because not everybody was born on stage. Some people do get nerves when they go on, and sometimes there's good nerves and bad nerves. But before we go forward, if someone doesn't know what Podcast Town is or what you do, tell us about it.
Yeah, Podcast Town is a community and podcast agency that helps people podcast better, for the lack of a better term. So if you're just starting out or you're new to podcasting, the community is a perfect fit for you, because we meet weekly. We're supporting each other, helping each other, encouraging each other, sometimes yelling at each other, all around podcasting and how to get better. And then the production agency, the point is to allow people to show up and perform, to take away all of the hardness of that is podcasting, right? All the stuff, which is ironically what we love to do. So it's a perfect match.
Well, let's start here. If someone's not born into public speaking, because some people just naturally can do it, but the majority of us had to learn how to do it. So how do you go about finding your voice to become either a speaker on a podcast or presenting in front of a group? How do you go about finding your voice?
Yeah, the funny thing too, about me is you would think that I was born in front of a microphone because literally I eat, breathe, and sleep in front of a microphone. But the moment that I realized that I had a voice, that I had something to say, was the moment that I started to move closer to being able to express that voice. When I grew up, I didn't think that anyone would care what I said or had to say or my perspective. But as I got older, I realized that even if there's 5 people, there's somebody out there that can grow, that can learn, that can see things in a different way by the way that I'm presenting information, my quirky style, my goofiness. There's somebody out there that connects to. When I realized that, Pat, it was like a sonic boom. I was like, oh my gosh, this is powerful. I need to use this thing.
Well, and one of the things you do such a great job of is you show up as yourself. When you host events, they're unique, they're fun, they're exactly who you are. And it's really exciting to see, as someone that does events too, to see someone that's doing it with their own style. So you realize that people wanted to hear what you had to say. If someone's thinking about how they find their voice, what would you tell them?
Yeah, the big thing is to get over fear. And that's easier said than done. But it's one of those things where even though every time that you get up, you might still be nervous. But when you realize that nobody's perfect and people are more apt to forgive or not even realize that you made a mistake unless you tell them that you made a mistake. You know, I used to tell people all the time, I used to sing out a lot and I would smile a lot from the stage. And one day somebody asked me, it's like, Elzie, why do you smile so much while you're on the stage? And I told them, because if you saw the things that I could see from that vantage point, you would smile too. Now, some people are sleeping, some people are, just people falling. That's one of my things. Just all sorts of things that are happening that that people don't realize that are happening. So getting over that fear, knowing that you're not perfect, you're never going to be perfect, and just showing up as your true, authentic self and laying it all on the line. I think that helps you get over that fear and being prepared. When I'm not prepared, I tend to be shaky nervous, right? But when I'm prepared and I'm coming into an environment where I'm ready, it's the normal nerves, and then Elsie can show up.
Yeah, you mentioned smiling. I just have to drop an aside in there. One of the things we used to coach people on the radio all the time is smile when you speak. Because when you smile when you speak, it sounds really silly. What difference could that make? It makes all the difference in the world when you're listening to someone just their audio. So keep that in mind. If ever you don't want to do it or you're not feeling it, just smile when you speak and it puts a little zip into all the stuff that you're talking about. So, okay, yeah, just get over it. Just get over stage fright. Like, that's easier said than done. When someone comes on one of your shows or you're coaching a client, what do you tell them to actually get them over the stage fright hump?
Yeah, there are different levels of stage fright, right? There's the butterflies where you're not quite sure, or there's the literally I'm frozen in my tracks, I cannot open my mouth stage fright, right? So I always tell people to work through it. The first speech that you ever give is going to be it's going to be horrible, and it's going to be bad. It just is. And by the second one, get a little bit better, get a little bit better. Be okay with the fact that it's going to be bad. You're going to suck at first. People who are first starting podcasts, their first episode, it's not good. It's not. It can't be because you've never done it before. But you have to understand that, realize that, and get incrementally better.
Well, and that's something that a little show like this can take and help this community. If you're looking to break your stage fright or you want to get some more reps, I would love to have you on the show to hear what you have to say and what you have to teach the community. And look at what else he's doing. He's behind a microphone every day, and coming on this little show is still, it's you got to be on, you got to perform. It's another rep. So if you're looking to improve your speaking game, we'd love to have you on the show and hear what you have to teach. We've got a new link that's up there for people that want to apply to come on the Small Business Rally Point. So it's one thing to get on the stage and find your voice. It's another thing to get over the stage fright, but you still have to develop what you have to say. So how do you help someone develop their message so they cut through when they're finally in front of an audience?
I think it's very similar to, launching a podcast. I always start with why. Why are you opening your mouth in the first place? And that'll carry you through all the other stuff, right? Because when I realized that literally you can change people's lives by the words that you speak, and understanding that and knowing that really allows you to laser focus on what you're talking about and who you're talking to.
So how do you amplify their reach? How do you help them get to more customers? How do you get them to get out there and get noticed and get heard?
Yeah, being a guest on podcasts is a really, really huge way. Just being on as many, irregardless of the size. I was telling somebody from the community the other week, it's like, I really don't care if you have one listener or a million, because I know that people are going to hear that episode, and for that new podcaster, they're going to appreciate the fact that an experienced podcaster, if I can call myself that, had the took time out of their day to guest on their show. And so now I've made an impact on that new podcaster, and I'm all about paying it forward and reaching back and helping people, because I understand how lonely and how hard podcasting can be. And so social media is another huge one. And I'm always nailing on my community: build your email list, get your email list, build your email list. And that's the other major way you can really grow and amplify your reach.
So if you have a question about how to develop your message or get over stage fright or think about how to present better in front of a group, drop into the chat. We'd love to bring you on. And also, if you have questions about podcasting, let us know and we'll work you into the conversation, because we do need to talk about podcasting in general. So 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if someone said you're going to make a living hosting a podcasting agency, people would have looked at you like you had three heads. Well, you're doing it, and Podcast Town is killing it. What is the state of podcasting in general as a medium?
I think if you're familiar with the Blue Ocean strategy, we're still somewhat in that phase where it's new enough where not everybody's doing it. But it's starting to approach the state where a lot of people, for example, 5 years ago even, I would walk into a networking meeting and they would say, "Hey, Elzie, what do you do?" "I do podcasting." "What's that? How does that work?" Now, when I go into a networking meeting, people absolutely know what podcasting is, and they're starting them on their own. So it's changed tremendously over the past 5 years. But I think over the next 5 years, you're going to have a website, you're going to have a blog, and you're going to be in the podcast space in some form, whether you're guesting on shows, whether you host your own, or whether you're sponsoring a show. You will be in the podcast space.
Because it'll just be everywhere. All of your partners are doing it, or you will be doing it as well.
Exactly.
Cheryl has a question for us. Cheryl, go ahead.
So how do you know what the first step is, of course, after hiring you? I know that I need to do one. I know that I think I want a podcast / a webcast. There's so much information out there that I don't even know how to move from square one.
Yep. I would say always start with your why, because that is going to inform all the other decisions that you make. For example, if you're a hobbyist and you literally just want to do a podcast because you think it's fun, that's going to inform how much money you might spend. That's going to inform how long the show is going to be. That's going to inform all of your decisions. If your why is not strong, I've in more than one way have said this to people: you shouldn't do a podcast because it's long and hard. And if you don't have a strong why, you're going to trail off and pod fade, as the industry says. So I've actually done that and walked away from a potential client because my mission isn't only to make money. I want your podcast to be successful. And if you don't have a strong why, it's not going to be successful.
I think something about podcasting, it's usually thought of, I have to develop a big audience. But sometimes you can just entertain your customers. You can entertain your community. You can, like you say, become a hobbyist. You might have a very narrow audience, but be extremely detailed in the content that you're creating. It's not always about getting thousands and thousands of listeners, right?
I think in most cases, it's not about that. There's one Joe Rogan, and there are a lot of famous comedians and famous people who have launched podcasts that are top 100 in the iTunes charts. For most of the rest of us, it's, if you can get 100 solid, loyal listeners, you can monetize that. If you can get a large email list to supplement that, or build a community based off of your podcast, you can really monetize that. The analogy I always like to use is, imagine that you're speaking on a stage and the only voice people hear is you. If you had 100 people a week that you got to speak to, would that be worth it? Would that be impactful? And then I always see people's eyes light up and go, wow, okay, I never really thought about it that way. Even down to 25. If I could have 25 people meet me at the labs, Serendipity Labs, every week and listen to me yap for 30 minutes, I'd take that every day, all day.
It's a great way to develop relationships and people that know people that know people, right? It's just not the 25 people. It's these 25 people know 100 people. Oh, I know a guy that runs a podcasting agency. Anytime the word podcasting comes up in a conversation that one of us might have, we know that you're the mayor. We know that you're the guy. David Bellman's on the call, and he's got a very popular podcast. David, what has made your show successful? First of all, tell us about your show, and then what has made it successful?
Thanks. So mine's called The Home Building Hero, and it's all about building. So I kept mine very specific to what I know best, my industry. And I think it's been successful for a couple of reasons. One is because I've been consistent, and I deliver content every week. I'm answering questions that my home buyers would probably ask me or my competition anyway. I think the other reason it's been successful is I'm a younger builder compared to most. And so a lot of the older builders, they're the ones, they don't even know what a podcast is. They never even heard of it. So I kind of filled a need in the market, in the space that was there. And like just last week, for example, I mean, I got interviewed on an international podcast from Ireland, of all places. And they were just fascinated with what we do in our marketing. And they're actually talking about moving. They've got a software company. They're talking about moving to the United States. And they were, I'll probably have some follow-up conversations with them, but it's just kind of weird where that all goes. And yeah, I've just picked up a couple big sponsors. So it's, I wasn't doing it for money, but now I'm monetizing it, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to use it for vacation money. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, what a great way to do it, right? Drive that vacation fund. What are some of the things that have happened to you in the industry? Has it positioned you as an industry leader, as someone that's hosting the show?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's led me to other opportunities. I get asked to be on other podcasts all the time. And it's, yeah, I'd say it definitely increases the visibility even more. So it's another piece of content that I can put out, and again, positioning yourself as an expert and as someone that's, someone of value and that the people go to. But yeah, definitely the international thing surprised me because, now they're looking going, yeah, you're the builder I got to talk to in the whole United States. Like, gosh, that's just crazy to me. Like, I mean, I don't have that big of a building company. We do 30 houses a year. I mean, there's guys building 200 houses in this market, and they're talking to me instead. It's crazy.
You're our guy in the US, right? We only need one.
I'll be the guy.
You're the guy. No problem. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate that. So, Elzie, David's podcast is incredibly narrowly focused, right? It's a show for home builders by a home builder. And it's not necessarily the David Bellman School of Building Houses. It's, I'm going to talk about building houses. So sometimes you don't have to create all the content yourself. You can just talk about what you're passionate about. Is that enough to build a show around?
That's absolutely enough. And in fact, the more niche you can be, the more better. Your chances are of growing a fanatic fan base, right? If you, the popular example is underwater basket weaving. There's not a ton of shows about that. So if you can get 100 to 150 people that also love underwater basket weaving, then you're golden. So niching down is definitely encouraged.
Is that some sort of podcast town warm-up phrase, underwater basket weaving? You got to say that 10 times fast.
That was the struggle to get that out, but I think I got it.
Yeah. I want to bring Claire Lauer. Can you come on the show for a second? Because you were in the chat and you seemed surprised that 100 listeners was enough to consider it a successful show. Am I reading that right?
I'm shooken.
Shooken. That seems way less than you thought.
I thought you needed like thousands, millions. Elzie, where have you been? Why haven't you told me this sooner? I'm just kidding.
Well, I think you could definitely, with what you do for a living, there's definitely a show there, especially with all the clients that you have.
Yes, I'm in the works on one, so stay tuned. But yeah, I was thinking like I'd have to like hustle and grind to get, thousands of listeners every week. 100 seems way doable with just my network I have, and yeah. So that was very eye-opening. I'm shooketh. So thanks for sharing that.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. So Elzie, you're shaking people. You're blowing minds today as we talk about podcasts.
Yeah, that never happens, Pat. I don't do things like that.
Very good. Very good. All right. So what else about podcasting have we not talked about that someone needs to consider if they're thinking about starting? So if someone's like, yeah, I think I could do it. What would you tell them to do before they pick up the phone and call you? Like, what do they got to think about to make sure they've got a show?
I would say just be committed to the process. It's not something that happens overnight. I've had my show for 4.5 years, right? And it's taking time to get to where it is. So I would just say have that mindset of growth, but of being ready to do the hard work, because it's going to take hard work and it's going to take time. And also having a right perspective on what growth looks like. We're using the 100 people number. So just really being realistic about what your show can do and what you want it to do for your brand.
A couple more questions coming in. Ariel, what do you got?
So Elzie, I had heard once that it was very common for podcasts to not get past episode 10, and you helped me through that transition, but I would love for you to share for the audience maybe why that is and how you help people through that barrier.
Yeah, I think the main reason is because some people start, and we hate to reiterate, right, with the wrong why, and they don't know why they're doing it in the first place. They get to about episode 7 and they realize, OMG, this is a lot of work. If I want to grow this thing, I actually have to do this every week, be consistent, have a strategy, and all the above. And they get to episode 10 and they're like, I can't do this anymore. I'm out. So I think the part that a good producer plays is he or she is your coach, your cheerleader, when you email them and say, oh my God, Elzie, I don't think I can do this, they email you back and say, oh yes, you can, you have something to say, the world needs you. And helping to push you through those uncomfortable moments, because most people aren't used to speaking, and then they're not used to understanding, hey, people all over the world literally are going to hear your podcast. And so that freaks them out. And so, just working with them to incrementally get better and to be okay again with not being where they're going to be.
So let's talk about who has a show that's on the call right now. If you have a show, drop into the chat and we'll let you come on and talk about it. Michael Rampolla, you're podcasting, right?
Yeah, live weekly video podcast called Sketchy Ideas. Myself and Brad James, 2 guys, 2 whiteboards, and a whole lot of making fun of each other and ourselves.
Very good. Very good. Can you drop the link in the chat? So good.
I did, by request. Thank you.
All right, JB, you've got a show. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so my podcast from a million years ago, when I was working with women traveling solo, Go Solo Live, has been on the air without new stuff for a while, and I'm still getting over 250 hits a month, and we're just under 31,000. Yeah, so I mean, it's like this, I just keep paying for it to stay out there, so it won't die, and I get leads from it, but I'm just not doing anything with that business. So I love it though. I won't let it go.
And if I could add peer pressure to Jennifer, I was just moseying around in the lab one day, and she's like, oh yeah, we got 30K, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. Like, why are you? And she's like, I'm thinking about shutting up. I'm like, why would you do that? The world needs to hear what you got to say.
Yeah.
So why did you stop, Jennifer?
You know what? One, I wasn't trying to run that as a business anymore. I was trying to be this life coach with a travel twist, and I wasn't able to turn it into a viable business. But the stories of empowering women and solo women travel, those live on, and clearly they've lived on during COVID, which has been fun. And I wanted to hit 30,000 downloads. So then when I did that this year, I'm like, we're good. And then Elzie's like, no.
Yeah. So are you considering restarting it?
No, not yet. And actually I had a guest. So actually this was interesting too about like how you can monetize a podcast in a different way. I actually had a guest podcaster come on to my podcast and take over like as a takeover last summer for 10 episodes. It rejuvenated some interest in the podcast overall. And she got to test a podcast with an existing audience before I'm like, okay, now either you pay me a lot more or you go off on your own.
Not a bad idea. Good idea. All right, JB, thank you. Serena Talbot, you've got a podcast. Of course you have a podcast. What's your show?
Yeah, ours is, I have a co-host who's also a rapid transformational therapist and we've been doing it for, I think, over 2 years. Elzie, like you're saying, we were horrible when we started. We deleted a whole bunch of episodes, but we just did it. It's fun with someone else. I think if I was by myself, I really would have struggled. But it's called The Whole Point. I'll stick the link in. It's mainly for our goal mainly was for our clients, like stuff that we were telling them over and over, and mindset things and boundaries and relationships and emotions and all that kind of stuff. So we really enjoy it, but it's been really fun. We've had clients all over, or had guests from all over the world. I got a client recently from it. We haven't monetized it. I don't know my numbers. Like I'm really bad for that kind of stuff, but I got a client recently in London, which sounds fancy, but he's from Minneapolis, but that heard about it. And yeah, we really enjoy it, but it has been, it's been fun because it's with my friend, we become really good friends through it as well. But I probably need to look into working with Elzie for quality and like the monetizing part, but yeah, I'll stick it in.
But you've already monetized, right? So you just said you have a client from it. So, and in fact, that's probably the biggest and largest ROI way to monetize over having a sponsor. I don't know if you guys have done this process before, getting a sponsor, but it kind of sucks. It takes a lot of time and there's haggling. But when you're promoting your own business or your product and service, the ROI is so much bigger.
And when you said 100 people, I was like, oh, because I even thought of myself as like this dinky little thing. I don't look at the numbers because, it's not 20,000 people. I don't think, maybe lifetime, downloads, but it's not huge. So I just have thought, oh, it's just this little thing we do. So that was encouraging for me too.
Well, I got to say, of all the folks that I've interviewed, when I interviewed you for avoiding small business burnout, Serena crushed it. She sat down and we did one take. We did 90 minutes of podcasting in one take, and she was amazing. So sky's the limit for you. Keep doing it. No doubt.
Yeah, I would say it's good practice for anything, for everything. I'm way more comfortable talking anywhere because of sucking enough to get good, right? So,
That's right. That's right. Ted Carew, you've got a podcast. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I'm just into it. Elzie's steering me through the water, but I do have to say, after my first presentation, I live in Appleton, so I go up there and we do 4 all month in one session over 2 hours. And Elzie just sits there and looks at me. But after my first one, I said, well, I just didn't seem all that great, but I'm hoping I'll do better. Elzie goes, oh, you'll get better. You have no other way to go. He was very encouraging. He does a great job with it. I enjoy his inspiration, and he's starting to learn my humor a little bit. So, but he does a great job with it, and it's a lot of fun. But the one way I think we haven't looked at it, the way I've been using it, is I'm asking potential clients to be on it beforehand, and boy, do they all jump at it. It's like Paul would put. It's that that vape that we want, and so I kind of use it as a vape. To get other clients on there, and it gets everybody else talking. So it's fun. And Elzie does a great job with it, despite what everybody else says about him.
True. Creating content and giving away that stage to a potential customer is a great way to open the door. There's no threat there. Is there any potential business coming from those interviews that you've given away?
Yeah, there really is. It's a lot of opportunities I've gotten where I don't think I would have had before. And so they work out well. It's a lot of work. You know, it seems like the podcast, you just get up there and talk, but there's a lot of preparation and a lot of work to it, but it's well worth it. I think I look at it as advertising.
Yeah, for sure. Very smart. Good job. Good job. Roger Wolkoff, tell us about your show with Ariel.
It's called MP3 Mastering Personality, Perspective, and Productivity. And it's definitely a collaborative effort. It's been really fun. It's been changing over the course of the past several months. Ariel does a neat little monologue, and then we have a quote, and then we just have a conversation for like 15, 20 minutes about whatever the topic is. We pick one of the three, and also the podcast is evolving. Guests are going to come on at some point soon. Look for 2021. It's just a real gas. I never thought I'd want to do podcasting, and I want to thank Ariel for challenging me, and something about barriers, overcoming them. Thank you.
So how did you guys hook up, you and Ariel doing the show?
A mutual friend introduced us. We were both connected on LinkedIn, and we set up a networking call, and 45 minutes wasn't enough. The next 45 minutes wasn't enough. And Ariel said, look, I only have so many Fridays, so we're going to have to press record on a couple of these. You want to do that? So it was really, really kind. I told Ariel that I thought the topics she was covering, there were a number of opportunities to expand on them, and we got to talking, and gosh, she made it happen pretty quickly. So I feel very blessed to be on there with her.
Well, as a speaker, this is a natural modality for you, right? To be able to show up and perform is just doing more of what you're doing rather than, say, blogging or some other modality of performing. This is what you do.
It is, and it's really honed. It's really helped my edge in speaking, especially now, where we're all virtual. But it's just improved it so much, because one of the things we do, we turn on the video, and then we use a separate software for recording the audio, and it really is a conversation between the two of us. And then we each have to keep checking the time and giving each other cues, like, okay, time to wrap up. Yeah. And it's become a real neat tool for that, for honing the speaking too.
That's great. That's great. All right, Mr. Mayor, we're running out of time here. Anything about podcasting that we haven't talked about that you want to make sure that everybody hears, or public speaking in general?
Yeah. So there's this term that I think I coined called podcast rain. And what podcast rain is when you start a podcast and all sorts of things that you couldn't even imagine start happening, like somebody listening to your podcast, reaching out, networking, and now you're co-hosting, or like costs sending you headphones. Things just start happening, and that's what I call podcast rain. But on a serious note, I mean, the relationships, the development of honing in your voice, finding it, amplifying it, podcasting is a fantastic way to do all of those things, and it's fun. I would not be doing this if I were not having fun. So podcasting is all of those things and more. So I encourage people, get in on the boat now. Like I said, you're going to be involved in some way. You might as well get in now.
So I think we're going to ask a couple quick questions before we let you go. Michael brings up a great point that we should have a podcasting group inside the Idea Collective. And I'm not sure who might moderate that group, but if we could, you. That way we could all talk about podcasting and share our links and get support and stuff. We got a book club, might as well have a podcasting group.
I'm game.
So that would be great. So if Susie's on the call, I haven't seen if Susie's on the call. Let's make that happen. All right, let's talk for a second about the event that you're going to host, because you've got this big summit coming up. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the Podcast Town Virtual Summit is really my effort to give back to podcasters of color in a way that I wish was available when I started. Even though our focus is podcasters of color, everybody is welcome. I just want to make sure I say that. It's 9 sessions. All of the speakers are podcasters. They understand what it's like to start and grow. And we're just going to teach on how to grow your show, how to grow as a podcaster, and how to grow your return on investment. And thanks to Cost, we have giveaways. They sent us over some nice headphones and wireless speakers. So I'm super excited about it. I think that it's a really, really cool start to something that I believe can be really, really impactful.
And it's important, right? You're not just making podcasts and making money and running your business. You're doing something that you really believe in. So kudos for that. Make sure that when we're done talking here, the link has been dropped into the chat. I just want to make sure everybody has it. We got one more question. Jennifer Buchholz, you got a question for Elzie. Go ahead.
Well, actually, real quick, for Podcast Town, for the event, is that open to people who maybe want to learn more about just getting on podcasts, or should they already be podcasting already?
I think you will get a lot from it in terms of growth. So if you're looking to be on podcasts, my thing would be, it would be a good place to be to get to know podcasters, because they'll be there. And there's a networking portion that we're going to have after each session. So that might be a good idea to be around and make those connections.
Perfect. I'm signing up right now as soon as we're done with the show. But I wanted to say something, Elzie, and this is something that you don't pitch yourself very often. The only way that I was able to put out like 80 episodes of my podcast was because I had a system on the front end for getting my guests on and their pre-interview and all the collateral I needed up front, and I had production on the back end. I believe you do that all. So I'm thinking I'm calling it like a wraparound service, because the show up and perform, we talked about it on another call, but it wasn't here for everybody to hear. So can you just talk about what like wraparound looks like for that?
Yeah, what it looks like is, for example, I have a client that comes into the studio and he does his recording and then he leaves and his podcast just happens. I edit it, we do the show notes, we post it to his website, we do all the back end work, and all he has to do is just show up, provide the content, and go off and run his business.
Which is a dream. That's like a dream, because the folks that do it by themselves know how much time and effort that takes, and to have that done with a partner is fantastic. And there's a little bit of accountability when you've got someone like Elzie helping you, because he'll help you through the hard part, but he'll also make sure that it's Wednesday, we got to get this out, where's my episode? So it's a little bit of a coaching and accountability that goes on there as well. Well, Elzie, I think your business is great. I always enjoy talking with you. Hopefully by the end of today, we'll have the group up inside the Idea Collective so you can start leading us through the podcasting inside the Idea Collective. But it's always a pleasure, and congratulations on your success, and good luck with the event coming up later in the year.
No worries. Thank you. Did I just get more work? Is that what just happened?
No, work? I didn't know. I didn't think so. We you know what we did? We gave you a great opportunity for exposure. That's what
I was just going to say.
Got it.
Great opportunity for exposure. It's growth opportunity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it with a smile.
Right. Which really is what gets the job done.
Susie's going to set the group up, so you just have to show up and perform, Elzie.
Hey, just show up and perform.
Look, we all know who really picked this one up.
Nice.
All right, Elzie, thanks a lot for coming. We appreciate it. All right, so let's move on to the second part of the show. So we're going to ask a question in just a little bit, asking you about how you started and how it's going now. So start thinking about your hero's journey as a small business owner. What was it like the first day you opened? And what was it like when, like today? How are you doing now? So before we do that, just give you a time to think on that for a second. I want to update you on the coordinated carryout program that we were kind of testing and playing with Brand Crafted. Now, if you're unfamiliar, what was it? A little over a week ago, the governor put out a restriction on in-person gathering size, and restaurants especially were limited to like 25% capacity. Well, Milwaukee said, we're not doing it, forget it. But in between the time that he put out the order and Milwaukee kind of bucked the trend, we put out onto Facebook, hey, what if we do this thing called the coordinated carryout, where as a group, Brand Crafted and the Idea Collective, we pick a restaurant and we all carry out from that place in the same day. So it turned out that Mike Hottinger of the Peanut Butter and Jelly Deli was already in the group. So last Tuesday for lunch, we did a coordinated carryout at the Peanut Butter and Jelly Deli. Now raise your hand on the Brady Bunch view, everybody that did it. Yeah, And it was, yeah. I had the big apple peanut butter sandwich. It was amazing. Anyway, we all went there and did the carry out, and it was great. The next day I get a message from Mike. He said his Tuesday was up 55% over last week. He was incredibly grateful for all of our support. And he said it's something that any restaurant would love to have. So he encouraged us to keep doing it. Okay. So we go into Brand Crafted again. Okay, what are we going to eat this week? Like, okay, this could be kind of fun. What are we going to eat? Well, a bunch of restaurants were nominated, but the one that got the most votes on the poll, maybe because it was Tuesday, was Taco Tuesday. And the winner is Paloma Taco and Tequila, which is at 51st and North, I believe. And it's just like this little taco joint, right? Now, tequila, optional, yet encouraged. The individual tacos, chips, salsa, puppy treats, whatever. So tomorrow is the day. Paloma, Taco, and Tequila. So we are encouraging you tomorrow to call in a carryout order. Enjoy Taco Tuesday with Brand Crafted and the Idea Collective. And we've had some people ask, like Roger or Susie, that don't live right here in Milwaukee, how can they participate? If they have the ability to do a gift card, that would be great. If not, maybe we pick one in Madison for upcoming weeks. We would love to do that as well. But we're just honestly, I'm just kind of playing around with this to see if we can make this a thing, because I think it's really fun, and I think we could help out a lot of restaurants. And David Bellman, to his credit, so David, I'm going to bring you on here for a second if you're still with us. You talked to someone that is in like the restaurant association. Who did you talk to about this?
Yeah, one of my good friends, Christine Hilmer, she used to be with the Builders Association. Now she's head of Wisconsin Restaurant Association. So she emailed me a list of like 10 restaurants that are local, that are struggling. They're good places. She's eaten at all of them. So she recommended them. And I did drop those into the Idea Collective, into a post. So there's a bunch more for you guys to look at and consider if you're interested in helping out.
That sounds great. Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it. All right, so let's move on to the roundtable conversation for the day, how it started and how it's going. So I want to hear from Michael first, because he's told me his backstory first, or his backstory before, and I think it's kind of cool. So Michael, how did you start and where are you now? Tell us about it.
So how did I start? I'll go way back. Definitely didn't think I would be business owner of any sort. My position was eliminated from Manpower Group, and I found myself in transition. Had the very fortunate benefit of getting outplacement and a great career coach. And I discovered that I was basically just career coaching. I never really stopped doing my job, which was helping other people do their thing better. And I realized after 6 months, I was facing a couple different job offers. And I said, but I really like being in transition. Can people get paid to network and help other people with their thing, just, randomly and occasionally? And it turned out, yes, you can. It's called being a consultant. So here I am. So I launched my own business. Instead of taking one of two really very nice job offers, I actually just said, no, I'd like to put my financial future at risk for the rest of my life. And it turned out, very fortunately, it got a really great client out of the gate. But then as far as what did I learn? I learned that I wasn't selling nearly as much as I realized that I thought I was. I just got really good referral business for a very long time. And then when the referrals dried up and I discovered that so was the finances starting to dry up, then I said, oh, I've just been getting really lucky for about 3 years. I need to start owning a business and operating like an owner instead of just a really lucky consultant. So that's when I started learning how to sell. And here I am. And that's when I joined Spirity.
So wasn't there a time you told me you were the guy behind the guy? Is that how you used to be?
That was the name of the business, and still is, I'd say, my personal brand. I was at the old 1, 2, 3 at 5. Those of you in Milwaukee know the once quarterly mega networking event. And I said, I'm going to go try a new line every time I shake hands tonight. And I tried a new line every time I shook hands. And I said to somebody, hi, I'm Michael Rampolla, the guy behind the guy. And she said, ooh, that's the name of your business? I said, it is now.
It is now.
It is now. And thus the brand was born. Because my whole thing was helping other people look great and giving them all the credit when they got more awesome. Yeah. So that's how I came up with the business of the guy behind the guy.
That's brilliant. And now you've got the board to back it up, which is just incredible. So
thanks,
man. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Benny, how did you start and where are you now? Wait, how did you start? Benny, you're a young man. So how far back are we going here?
We're only going back about 2 years, 3 years now.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
2019. So actually, yeah, 2 years.
Okay, all right.
So I was still in college when I started my first business. And so it's an interesting story because essentially I had all of these internships lined up and all of these like really entry-level jobs and I didn't want to do them, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Right. And I had kind of had all the right experience building a product with the student org and working on things, that it actually all came together at a party when I bumped into who would later be a really good friend of mine, Robinson Cook's his name. And we were just talking about, hey, wouldn't it be cool to kind of start a startup? And while it started off as kind of that cool, like water cooler, like, hey, fun idea, I really quickly, it was like energy and, like just kind of naive, just pure energy and a little bit of recklessness, a little bit of like, let's give this a try and let's try it. Yeah. And that took me pretty far. I still have a lot of those traits.
Yeah.
But I would say what's changed is that my passion and my energy is more focused. I've kind of found what I wanted to do within that larger world, as well as I've worked through a lot of the challenges and I've started to really identify the challenges. At the beginning, it was kind of just trial by fire. And now it's like, okay, I got to take care of myself. I got to make sure I'm doing things the right way. So yeah, it's been a good journey so far. I'm really happy with where it's taken me.
That's cool. So let's think back all 2 years. Do you remember making your first sale?
I do very well. It was, we went out for Chipotle afterwards.
Party on. Yes. I'm getting guacamole. Oh, that's great. Thanks
so
for
Benny is a step up from Pat's Taco Bell. Let's just recognize the generational differences.
Isn't that?
It was right at State Street in Madison, if people know the joint, right the one that's right near, right on campus on State Street. So great memory.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thanks for sharing. Brad Herda, I imagine we go back a little bit further than 2 years when you started out. So how did you start and where are you now?
So started December of 2016. So not that far ago. So maybe double,
sure, yeah.
Right? Going on my own, but doing what I've been doing since 2004. So it does go further back than that, obviously. So the journey's been great on your own. Fail fast, and being stupid enough not to recognize failure was one of the downfalls, right? And not following the process. Like, oh, I can do it better than they can. Yeah. No, there's people in front of me that have a process, so you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. Just do the thing and just shut up and move forward and improve from there. Much better spot today than it was 4 years ago, so that's good. And then just keep winning and helping supporting my clients to get better at what they want to do, and leave their businesses in a better place than when they decided to exit. So
is that one of the things you think you have figured out, or at least you really believe in, process and discipline and doing the thing?
Yeah, and it's been one of my issues, right? The high C, right? So Elzie has been a great inspiration in that podcast space, et cetera. And we've had many a conversation over what to do next. I just have to get focused and commit to it. Because like I said, it's hard work, but I want to learn the process before I jump feet first into the fire. And he's like, no, just move forward. Just make it happen. And
just do the thing.
Just do the effing thing, right, AFW?
Yeah, that's right.
So Elzie's in the top of my inbox on a regular basis. And today was a great inspiration to get back in that saddle as I've moved some other things off my plate. So that's good.
Nice. Get in that brand new podcasting group inside the Idea Collective that Elzie is going to manage and do all the work on. It's going to be fantastic.
Right after Susie gets it done in the next 15 minutes.
I bet Susie's already got it posted if I had to ask. All right. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. All right, Cheryl, when did it start and how's it going now?
When we moved up here in 2018, I was doing it the way my father had always done it, and I was absolutely miserable. And what that meant was I was finding random people on the internet and sending out actual letters and being like all the other people crap that you get in the mail and having, as you can be really surprised, no luck. And about 6 months in, I was like, oh, this is effing horrible. I'm quitting 25,000 times over. And started networking and completely changed the course of our business.
And you'd say networking was the difference maker for you, is to get out there and talk to people?
100%. 100%.
Nice. Nice. Cool. Thanks for sharing. All right, Taryn, you've got some really cool things going on. How did it start and where are you now?
I've been hiding my wet hair here, but I'll join you by face as well. If maybe if it'll come to focus. Okay, so Jennifer, I saw you an hour ago. I got a workout in since, so I've been hiding the hair behind the scenes. So let's actually go back, journey really quickly. This is actually company number 3 for me, not including the one I help my children own. So being self-employed, owning and operating a business is nothing new. But Brad, I am your complete opposite. I'm a driver personality and I jump off cliffs when I get an idea and just do it. I do the fucking thing, excuse my language, but I do it. You're welcome, Andy. So let's start with TikTok. This happened January of 2019. And I'm a huge fan of having coaches, and it was a brainchild of someone I was working with at the time because I had a viable solution to a very common problem in the marketplace. And so I took action on solving that problem for people. What's changed is that it took me about 8 months to realize that there was a huge disparity in the way I was delivering the message and to whom, as opposed to how the people I really truly needed to be in front of actually needed to hear that messaging, and things have exploded since then. So it was listening to the people that wanted to hear me. Elzie, there's a great message in there, and just listening to them and letting them guide what has happened and just riding that train out. It's been great.
How did you internalize that feedback? So you heard the feedback. How did you take that feedback and infuse it into the products you continue to create for that audience?
So the real messaging there was it was not converting to revenue. So how do you take the messaging and then convert it? Not only by helping them by solving the problem that they have, but turning it into a revenue stream. So when the dollars weren't coming along with the solution, I realized that I had to change not only my target market and how I was delivering the message to that target. And it's made all the difference in the world. Very
cool. And you just announced an event. Tell us about your event you just announced.
Which one? So many. The one with Lisa Rabel.
The one, yes.
We are hosting, yes. So on October 29th, it is the grand finale of a series we put together earlier this year called Connecting You in 2020, and it's all about how to be better networkers, and this last segment is networking on purpose, or network on purpose, and really how to take being a better network, being on purpose with our time when we're networking, but turn that into a marketing tool to have the best year in 2021 you could possibly have.
Is that on sale or tickets available now?
It's completely free. We are limited to 100 registrants thanks to Zoom, but we may be able to open that up if we need to. But there is a ticketing link. I can put that in there.
Do it.
And we'd have as many of you as possible. Would love to see you there.
That would be great. I've been to one of those events. They're fantastic. You guys did a great job together.
Thank you.
That's the end of the month. End of October, you said. Okay.
End of October 29th.
All right. So any final call for how it started and how it's going? Elzie, I didn't get to you yet. So Elzie, how did it start for you? And we heard a little bit about how it's going. So how did it start?
So it probably not very unique in terms of, I have this podcast. I started it because I wanted to learn from business people. I didn't want to go to Google and learn from a book how to run a business. And so I said, okay, I'll start a podcast. I'll invite people on. I'll ask decent questions and shut up and listen. And it worked fantastically. They would pour out all the good stuff. And so I could probably write a 2-volume series on business and the different concepts that I've learned. But one big thing that I did is at the end of each interview, I would ask, if you were in my shoes, what would you do and how would you be doing this? And when I say they gave me so many ideas and also some common objections, they would say, you know, Elzie, it's really cool that you started this podcast. I want to start a show, but I don't know how. I don't understand the tech, etc. And so that's kind of how the agency piece of my business was born, is just listening to feedback and learning and growing from brilliant business people.
That's really smart. Good idea. And when you give someone a chance to tell you what they know, oftentimes they will. And so that's great. Good strategy. Well, thanks everyone for the conversation on that. I thought that would be a fun way to go about it. It's inspiring to hear, if you listened into all the messaging, almost everybody had the thing that changed it for them, be it networking or getting feedback or listening to others. It's an inspiring conversation. So thanks for sharing. We appreciate it. All right, we got to go for the big finish now. We've got a couple of announcements that we want to share before we wrap up. The Idea Collective for Small Business Owners is closing to new members on Friday. So if you're still thinking about it and you're not in yet, come on, bro. We're closing on Friday at 4 o'clock. And here's what we have this week. Tomorrow at 4, Thursday at 10, we're having Idea Slams. Those are our community brainstorming sessions where I do group coaching. The community comes together to support the members of the group. So if you're not in the Idea Collective yet, join, or at least join one of our free Idea Slams and see if it's worth it for you. We're having a great time in there. We would love to have you be a member as well. Here's how you get the information you need. Text the word IDEA to 414-240-1315. That's IDEA to 414-240-1315, or hit me up. You know how to get a hold of me, and I can give you the links that you need. But the group is going great, and we would love to have you as a member. Speaking of things that are going great, let's bring in the hype man of the group. AFW, tell us about the Young Guns movement and our fall summit, because that is coming up quickly.
Absolutely. What do you want to know? We're bringing some of the best minds around. We're going to smack you in the face. November 12th, Fall Summit, great speakers, better than me. This is how big this event gets. I don't even get any time on the air. Nothing, nada. I just got to sit there in the audience like everybody else, like all the schmucks looking at me right now. So you want to be a schmuck like me and have people smarter than me and you, the Elzies and the Pat Mills of the world, get you motivated, inspired, and educated. This is the event for you. November 12th, 8:30 to noon, two keynote speakers, 2 panels. It's a 2-for-2 deal. Right? This ain't no Tuesday, it's a Thursday, but still 2-for-2 deal. November 12th, get inspired, get empowered, and network while you're at it. Young Guns Movement 2020.
Boom. Discount tickets are available through Friday thanks to FlexScript. It's the FlexScript savings window. Brandy Holloway is one of our keynote speaker. She's going to share how to ignite your entrepreneurial mindset. Ryan Campbell is our main keynote, Influence Through Adversity from a World Record to Learning to Walk Again. We're going to have a success panel on business, folks that are killing it during the pandemic. We probably shouldn't put it that way. Darren Fisher from Spirity and Michael Creed from Leader One Financial are going to talk about how great their businesses are doing. And we're going to have a politics panel. So we've got a gentleman from the left and a gentleman from the right, and they're both going to talk about what the heck just happened, because this is the 12th of November, and the election, as you know, is the 3rd of November. So we're going to hopefully have a result by then. And we're going to find out what the heck is going on and what we can expect next as business owners and as a community. So that's going to be an engaging conversation. It's 100% virtual. Tickets are on sale on Hopin, and we will drop the link into the chat here in just 1 minute. JB, 1 more minute here. You say you've got something. What do you got?
I was going to announce this thing about the Zigio video tool on AppSumo, but the deal might not be as good as what I thought it was. But we had talked about grabbing video testimonials. That opportunity is back out on AppSumo. I'll drop the link in case anybody wants to check it out. It is not as good as the one-time lifetime deal that I did get, but if you're trying to capture a lot of video testimonials in like 1 year, this might be worth the investment to do it.
So that is a tool that you go get video testimonials. Hey, give me a video testimonial, and you can send them the link.
Send them the link to your own landing page, and the recording is built right into the web browser. So if you guys hadn't seen mine, I'll drop my Zigio link as well, just so you can see how the interface works.
Yeah.
Which it's brilliant.
I might buy it just because I like to say the word Zigio. Just, ooh, Zigio. This is a fun name to say. All right, cool. Thanks, JB. Appreciate it. Big thanks to Elzie Flenard for coming on and being so brilliant. Jennifer Buchholz, who's producing the call, the ultimate connector in my business, BFF. Don't forget, tomorrow is Taco Tuesday. It's the coordinated carryout with Paloma Taco and Tequila, and we will see you inside the Idea Collective for Small Business Owners, which is closing up on Friday. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. That's it for the Small Business Rally Point for Monday, October 19th. Thanks for coming, everybody. Have a great day.